Across the world now, the push is towards to have transparency within the extractive industries. So all over the world, everyone has said that companies need to publish what they're paid, and governments need to publish the revenues that they're collecting from companies on the extractive industries, right? So the forest, mining, and the oil and gas need to show what revenues they're actually generating. Does that happen here at home? No. Everywhere else in the world. And Canada actually spends quite a bit of money in Tanzania and other places to make sure that they are able to live up to their obligations under the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. So we spend money, but we're sure as hell not going to do it here in Canada, even though 60% of the extractive companies are Canadian. Bit ironic that, eh? And I saw a bit in the Globe Mail a couple of months ago where New Brunswick declared if they were forced to publish the contracts, they were going to secede from Confederation. That's it, we're out. If we have to publish what we're actually charging people for our natural resources, we'll leave the Confederation. So what do we know? What do we know about the revenues? Well, the only information that you can actually get in terms of the shale gas is the annual reports published by Corridor. Last year, Corridor was bold enough to brag about that they pay an effective royalty rate of 3%. This year, sadly, they had to report that it's gone up to 4%. Now, of course, everybody says, well, no, but you get other advantages later on, and there are jobs created and everything else. As we've seen, there aren't jobs created. That's just not happening. And on the other side, the 4% that they collect is far less than the 10% that was originally agreed to, and a lot less than what Alberta charges, which is about 17%. Right? So it's a sliding scale. You're supposed to collect actually more revenues off of the gas after 5 years. Well, after 5 years, all the gas is gone. So how are you going to collect any royalties rates? But to try and get this information from the government of New Brunswick doesn't exist. So what is hurting us as an internationally competitive environment? Now, Canadian companies argue that foreign countries that don't have transparency in their extractive industries make it very difficult for them to invest in. So is that increasing the investment climate of New Brunswick, right? That's what it's supposed to do. We're supposed to be business friendly, but actually we're not business friendly because no other businesses know what the royalty rates that they're supposed to pay are. They have several policies that have been put out, some of which were put out by Lapierre, which was basically a paragraph saying, well, it might be good. Okay, oh, well, we have a new regulation, but the regulation is so unclear itself that nobody really knows what royalties they're going to pay for. So who besides Corridor and SWN, and we really don't know who's behind SWN, right? When you look at the corporate registries, who's going to invest here? And so the idea is if you don't do what we say, we'll leave, and nobody will look at coming to New Brunswick. Well, I don't think that's true. And I think the lesson that we have from Danny Williams is when you stand up to the big companies and you say, you pay me what you owe, you pay me what's fair, guess what? They'll come back to the table. Because if they don't, the Chinese or somebody else will. Certainly what we don't have is any transparency in this. And without transparency and without a competitive environment, we're really not going to have economic development. We're just going to be getting deeper and deeper in debt. 11 billion now, right? At what point do we become bankrupt? And then what's going to happen? So that's what our friends over at the UDM have said, is that New Brunswick is on the verge of going bankrupt. We will be the first jurisdiction in Canada to become bankrupt. We'll become the Detroit of Canada. Yeah. Who's going to buy us then? Maybe. But if they buy us outright, will they keep up the roads and pay for the hospitals and do everything else? I mean, if we could make them sign up to that and say, we'll sell you outright the entire province of New Brunswick. 15 billion, plus you fix the roads, plus you build the hospitals, and you improve the schools. And you have to have a literacy rate up to 80%, and you have to have everybody healthy and happy, and everybody gets a job. So my friends at the Council of Canadians were surprised when I said that, but I said, you know, at the end of the day, that would still be a better deal than what we have now. Deep in debt, no jobs, no possibilities, and we're losing money on every natural resource we have. We lose money on every tree we cut down, and we lose money on every cubic meter of gas. So how do we fight this? And I wanted to be positive and give some hope.